You can bet that the record rep went, "See, I told you."
Yeah, yeah. And then they went, "Cool, we're done as a band. That was our last album. We hated it."
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Audio Files. My name is John, his name is Andy, and we're here to listen to some music which Andy has taken from the selection box of soft-scented chocolates. Andy, what have you got for me?
I have a band called Soul Coughing. Have you ever heard of Soul Coughing?
Coffin or coughing?
Coughing. Coughing.
No.
No? Okay. Excellent. Well, the track by this band that I want you to listen to is called Circles.
Okay.
All right, yeah, that's all the information you're gonna get, and really it's all you need. So go off, give it a listen, and come back and let me know what you thought.
Will do.
When you were languishing in rooms I built to file you in. When the wind set down in funnel form and pulled you in. I don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. Don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. When the ghostly dust of violence faces everything.
I got the gist. Really nice sort of rhythmic quality to it. His vocals are sort of lazy, slacker, and they sound really familiar. And if I had a better memory, I'd say that's just like that. But I don't, so I can't recall. Maybe it'll come to me. Some of the electronic tomfoolery is slightly annoying. I could do without that. But apart from that, it's just cool. It's got a lovely vibe to it. It's quite sort of, say, lazy and laissez-faire and a bit sort of singy-song to the chorus. Yeah, it's good stuff.
When the gas runs out, just wreck it and you insure the thing. I don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. Don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. Sign out that you made the move. It has gone.
Like that bit there with the sort of piano, and they're almost scattings, very jazz influenced, which is quite cool to sort of slip that in. Yeah, like that.
Gone the dogs, lay down the farthest star. I don't need to walk around in circles, walk up in circles, walk around in circles, walk around and don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around and don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around and
Yeah, that was all right. It didn't grip me. I guess maybe it's the mood I'm in. Because it's quite a mood sort of piece, isn't it? I could see this being massively hypnotic and people loving this. And perhaps a couple more listens, and I think I might be there as well. But it was decent. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it was all right. Let's go back and see what Andy has to say about this.
All right.
I've returned.
Thanks for the confirmation. So, what did you make of this?
Yeah, this is an interesting song. Starts off as a really nice rhythmic quality with the opening acoustic instrument. Is it a bass? I'm thinking it is. It's got a slight, I don't know what the correct wording or terminology is, but it's got that slight metallic rattling resonance to the strings, like it's not correctly strung. I remember borrowing a guitar off an ex-girlfriend. It was actually her brother's, and I restrung it because I'm left-handed, and of course some strings are wider than others.
Yes,
and you got this doing sound because it was steel strings rather than nylon, and I was teaching myself to play the guitar, and I actually progressed really quickly. Then of course we broke up. I had to hand it back, and I didn't touch a guitar again for like 20 years, and I'm still shit now. So yeah, but that reminded me of that. It's just, and it's not unpleasant. It's just it just adds a little interest to it. And then there's a really simple but a really nice beat that kicks in as well. And it kind of feels to me, at this point, I'm thinking it's quite, the way the beat is really simple, but he's got a really nice use of like the cymbals, etc. It's quite almost jazzy in a way. And then your man starts singing and has a real lazy feel to his vocals, almost like a slacker type delivery. And his voice is so familiar. It's not that his voice is familiar, it's very like someone else. And I really struggled to place who it was. And I can reveal I'm still struggling. I can't remember who it is, but there's somebody that he sounds quite similar to, which is nice, because it kind of got an immediacy to it. So he's singing along, and again, it's all quite basic, and it's just all about the groove and the feel, really. And there's other electronic sounds that overlay the track, and there's a really playful, almost childish synth that to my ears sounds like a cross between an organ and like panpipes. It's that higher register and has almost a reedy quality to it, but not, but almost. And it's in real simple notes as he says, walk around in circles for the first time. And that continues through the whole track. And I really like that as well. And it just added to an overall playgroundy sing-song element to the song, which, it's not to his detriment or anything. It's just, that's what I pictured, Or I also felt perhaps it was like a teenage delinquent, with his bottle of cider or his bag of glue, wandering into an abandoned playground. That was probably more the picture I got. And then as it progressed, unfortunately got some really, really annoying bleep noises peppered in that were kind of random, and they did absolutely nothing for me. And I really struggled to see why they put them in as well, because I couldn't see a reason or what it did. There may be some very clever reasons lost on me, but that kind of annoyed me a bit, and I've managed to blank them out most of the time, to be honest with you, because they're just pissing me off. But it goes on, and again, it's a very, you'd expect from the title, a very circular song, so it's just going round and round. The lyrics are kind of, I miss most of them, to be honest with you, but they kind of, it goes back to the same bit about I just walk around in circles, I don't need to walk around in circles going again. And then there's this break, and really unexpected, there's some sort of planky, almost jazzy piano, and I absolutely adored that. It was just great, and it was so unexpected. It was like, oh, and by the way, I've got this record here that I used to listen to, and it goes, and then he starts scanting over it as well, which is even better. I thought it was brilliant, really, really cool. And he just gave it that more of this jazzy feel to it, which was, and in the playground, I saw this as an interlude, and people were just playing hopscotch, and then there's back to the walking around in circles around the playground again. So he comes back in singing, and he sounds really good, his voice. I don't know if it's because of sometimes a break works like that, and you get, when something comes back in and it's exactly the same as it was before, but it sounds better, and his voice sounded even better and even more familiar, and I still can't bloody place it, and I don't think I ever will, but it's just like, wow, this is so like some, but anyway, more circles, more going round and round, and then it winds down and peters out. It's quite a short little number. I found it to be a really nice chilled groove, and it's more of a feeling song, really, rather than anything that's bowled me over or knocked me on my back or anything. I have to say, it didn't completely grip me, like it wouldn't be a go-to song again, but it was decent, definitely. And I could see this being a sort of earwormy type thing that a lot of people would latch onto, and it'll be a favorite of theirs. I could see that completely. I don't know what he was talking about, but the feeling I got was whether he was talking about his life or his situation he was in, or about a relationship, but clearly he wants change because he just feels like he's getting nowhere. And again, that's very relatable to a lot of people, which will again give mass appeal. So yeah, this was decent.
Excellent, and I'm glad you I'm glad you pretty much liked it. It was a decent enough song that have you ever heard of the artist Mike Doughty?
I don't think so.
Okay, because he's done a lot of independent work after being the front man of this band. Right. So I thought perhaps you had heard some of his independent stuff, and that's the voice, that's the connection you were making with the voice.
No.
But if you're not familiar with his work, then that's likely not who you were thinking of.
It's someone that's like in my collection as well. It's someone I've listened to, Okay. It's got that, I've said this before about something recently, it's not the same, but he's got that sort of Beck mentality to early Beck, in the way he does it, but it doesn't sound like Beck. But the voice itself, the quality and the, of it was definitely somebody, but oh man, it's going to piss me off for days. If I ever do eventually discover who the hell I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Well, they are, Soul Coughing is an American alternative rock band. They are made up of the aforementioned Mike Doughty, on also keyboardist sampler. By the way, Doughty's the vocalist and guitarist. There's the keyboardist sampler, Mark Degliantoni, bassist Sebastian Steinberg, and drummer Yuval Gabay. And they have a really devout fan base, though they are very much a cult band from the 90s. And Steve Huey of All Music described the band as one of the most unusual cult bands of the 1990s, driven by frontman Mike Doughty's stream of consciousness poetry. Soul Coughing's sound was a willfully idiosyncratic mix of improvisational jazz grooves, oddball samples, which in this instance grated at you a little bit, hip-hop, electronics, and noisy experimentalism. Doughty himself described the band as a deep slacker jazz. So
I got those two things.
yeah. They have 3 albums out. They disbanded in 2000, shortly after the release of the album that this song features on, which is their obviously third and final. A little bit about the band's history and how they met. So all 4 Soul Coughing members were regulars at a place called the Knitting Factory in New York City. It's a nightclub and performance venue that was part of the 80s and 90s experimental downtown scene.
I've
and
heard of it.
yeah. Dowdy was the doorman there, and also known for his improvised comedic quasi raps. While the other members of the band were all in their own bands at the time, they sort of got together, befriended one another, and started this band together. And this album is called El Oso, and it was released on my 15th birthday, September 29th, 1998. And this particular song on that album went to, I think it was number 8 on the Billboard charts at the time, which is by far their most successful song. Yeah. Because again, they are very much a cultish band, and to those who aren't part of the cult would call them a one-hit wonder, but they have a strong following beyond just this song. You know what I mean? So it's also, you're a fan of like graphic novels and some comics, aren't you? Okay, so the cover of this album was done by a very famous within the realm of, you know, comic book and graphic novelist fans. A guy named Jim Woodring did the art for this album, and he's done a lot of, I think he created the character Frank, which is probably his biggest hit. I think it's on Dark Horse. Really crazy kind of hallucinogenic-y style of art that's just awesome, and it's a fun, I think you saw the cover, it's this bear monkey looking creature that is that Woodring has conjured up for the cover of this art. I've always liked the cover a lot. So yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it is really cool, and it's just all the quirkiness of this band. The album ties perfectly into and fits the motif of who they are as people. The lyrics are, "When you were languishing in rooms I built to file you in, and when the wind set down in funnel form and pulled you in, I don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles. Well, walk around oh, sorry, a lot of walking around it. Walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. Don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in." And yes, there's clearly like this cyclical nature of the delivery and the song itself that matches the title. I don't need to walk around in circles. Pardon me. So obviously there's that whole refrain. Then, and when the ghostly dust of violence traces everything, and when the gas runs out, just wreck it. You insured the thing. I don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. Don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in. And then there's that bit of scatting followed by, well, I'm going. And then more of the scat, well, I'm going, and it repeats itself. Verse 3, "But I can't sigh now that you made the move. It has gone and gone to dogs, lay down on the floor. For the right price, I can get everything, split into the car, go driving to the farthest star. I don't need to walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in." And that cyclical refrain repeats itself several times. And when asked about like how they came up with circles, Dowdy in his memoir, The Book of Drugs, because this guy loved them. He's very much like, I think he's recovered, but he was very much part of that big heroin scene. He says it was written shortly after a Warner Brothers rep told them to write a single. It would be the most successful song Soul Coughing ever produced, and it would go on to get its own video on MTV and its own video on the Cartoon Network and a slew of other features. So it's just one of those things where I think it's kind of funny, right? Because you walk around in circles, this idea of like you're signed to a major label and they have the same request that they always make: write a hit, create a hit for us. So this was born of that request, and ironically became the only hit they ever had, even though he wrote it kind of tongue-in-cheek to the experience of being forced to write a popular song, if you will. So
Yeah, it's the one song they didn't want to fuck on.
Yeah.
And it was. Of
Yeah.
course it was.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of a little bit of like the same kind of story behind Smells Like Teen Spirit, you know what I mean? Where it's almost this tongue-in-cheek pop chord progression that then gets interpreted or ingested in a different way, but by the masses, and it becomes this like, you know, a pop hit that's not exactly bubblegum pop, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just interesting how that works.
And you can bet that the record rep went, "See, I told you."
Yeah. And then they went, "Cool, we're done as a band. That was our last album. We hated it." Yeah. So that just funny, interesting guy, kind of follows the beat of his own drum, kind of a musician's musician, one of those ones that like a lot of more famous people say, "Oh, I really like Mike Doughty and what he did with, you know, this album," or when he was with, you know, Soul Coughing. The band's name is actually it has two meanings. Both come from a poem written by Doughty that he used to do as part of his improvised shtick, where the initial meaning is to heavily vomit. So when you're just bringing up your whole soul, and then also he also describes the phrase. He uses the phrase to describe the sound of Neil Young's vocals, which is as if the man's soul is coughing out the words. Which I think is hilarious and actually really appropriate. And I'm a Neil Young fan, but I mean, the guy's got a distinct voice all his own, right? So I'm thinking of maybe giving you some Mike Doughty stuff that came out a little after his Soul Coughing stuff. For everything that I've heard, he kind of like put his whole career on hiatus for years, thinking that he was kind of a failure and didn't really do and I'm sure that was probably that self-doubt was propagated by his reliance on narcotics, which can breed self-doubt in you. But then I believe it was Dave Matthews who ran into him and said, "Hey, I really love your music," and brought him along to join them on tour and stuff. And, you know, and then he got the confidence to do some of his own material under the Mike Doughty moniker, you know, just his own independent stuff. This album also, like for them, was a little bit of a divergence in sound where they tapped into a lot of the drum and bass sound that they were experiencing. They had gone on tour, I think, at the time, just before the conceptualization of this album, and they were inspired by a supporting act of DJs called Crust and Die. And they kind of helped them decide how they wanted to go with their next album. And this album was actually produced by a British drum and bass producer, a man that goes by the name Optical, and he produced this album for them. So yeah, I just think it's a fun little hodgepodge of sounds and subgenres all thrown into the mix here, and this is what you get out of it. And he's just a really interesting guy and songwriter, and I'm probably going to give you some stuff in the future, like I said, but I thought that this was, if not for you, perhaps the audience, something you may have heard of, and a good way to introduce you to their sound and just Doughty as an artist as well. So yeah, I'm glad you gave it a listen and found some of the stuff a bit interesting. You definitely picked up on that slacker jazz shit that they were going for with the album. So that was
it sounds, for me, my taste, slacker jazz sounds awesome.
Yeah,
so, you know, it really does.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. Well, I'm glad you took the time to give it a listen. I appreciate your time as always, man. Everybody out there in the listening audience, let us know if you're familiar with Soul Coughing or Mike Doughty, or if this is your first time listening to it and what you thought of it. If you're familiar with it, maybe some of their other stuff or his subsequent stuff that we should maybe check out or give a listen, just what you think of it. The comment field is there for y'all, and we're happy to interact with you guys down there. Also, if you're feeling so inclined and so kind, maybe give this a like, share, or subscribe. We're looking to grow the audience, and we can't do that without you new listeners who are coming in. And judging by all of our analytics, most of the people who tune into our videos are actually first-time viewers and new listeners. So if you can join the Audiophiles Club, that would be awesome, and we're happy to have you here. All that being said, we hope to see all y'all and even some more folks on the next episode of The Audiophiles. See you later, guys.